presentation is on the Anti-Apartheid Act and the Civil Rights Act, or Anti-Apartheid and Civil Rights Act. We're doing Christina, Corey, John, and JP. The American Civil Rights Movement was basically the black people didn't have the same rights as the white people were given. This is like most common, like in the job place, and generally in the city. Like the drinking fountain was different for a black man than a white man, and basically they just wanted to like get the same rights that white people had, get the same treatment and privileges from the government, such as school or like benefits that the white people were getting.
For what? The American Civil Rights Movement was pretty much a series of concentrated demonstrations, court cases, in which the freedoms of the African Americans and later all Americans were fought for. It was throughout the United States, particularly in Montgomery, Little Rock, Arkansas, most of the South, which is right here.
The Southeast.
Yeah,
The Anti-Apartheid Act was pretty much like concentrated in the country of South Africa, not just one of the continent, but the country that they're.
and also they were the Anti-Apartheid Act was supported throughout the world, especially in the UN. The American Civil Rights Movement.
The main leaders of the American Civil Rights Movement were Dr. Martin Luther King, who is like the most famous for it, and he led the Montgomery bus boycott, was a really famous one. The SCLC, which is the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Ella Baker of the SCLC organization, and the sit-up campaigns in 1960, and demonstrations in Selma, Alabama. The NAACP, which is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, they also held sit-up campaigns. The Mississippi riots were led by them. The SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, was formed in sit-up campaigns during Freedom Rides, and those were a lot of they led a lot of the college demonstrations when black people would feel accepted to them.
For the people in the anti-apartheid movement was led by many organizations across the world, and Nelson Mandela was in many of the organizations in South Africa. There was the actual anti-apartheid movement organization based in England, the Congress movement in South Africa, which the African National Congress, the South African Indian Congress, the Congress of Democrats, and the South African Trade Union were united. The South African Communist Party and the United Nations also provided support. For the American Civil Rights Movement, it was based in the 1950s to 1960s. We started with 1951, which was the beginnings of Brown versus Board of Education, and we ended with 1963, which was the March on Washington, which was the demonstration supporting the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1963. The Anti-Apartheid Act, it began in the 1930s when
The struggle against the racist attitudes of the government began in the 1930s and did not officially end until the early 90s. When FW declared Klerk began a massive government reformation discarding the apartheid laws.
The American Civil Rights Movement basically, like, says Black Americans want the same freedoms and rights as other American citizens, and that really began with the treatment of African Americans after emancipation. The Jim Crow laws oppressed the people. The Ku Klux Klan and various other organizations kept African Americans in a state of fear. Like you see in movies where they ride around with the things in their head, hitting them and beating them, and in a lot of cases killing them. Something had to be done instead of a violent revolution, which is like the Black Panthers of Sea Forest Gump. It was a little bit there. Many peaceful organizations came together under one banner, demand their country, the freedoms of every man, woman, and child. Like all people get treated the same.
After nearly a century of colonial rule and later the legalization of racist policies towards non-white people after the exploration of oppression of the original inhabitants of South America, Africa. Something had to be done to stop the cycle of destruction that was endorsed by the established government. The movement against apartheid had many faces, some of which were peaceful, others revolutionary. The flip side of the ANC was Spear of the Nation, an organization of which armed resistance was the main focus. The anti-apartheid movement focused on correcting every wrong policy set in place by the government by any means necessary.
Alright, this is our presentation on apartheid versus civil rights movement. Okay, so there's many similarities between the two movements, but there's also some differences. Mainly in both of them, the blacks were the ones to be oppressed, obviously. In South Africa, they were classified and segregated by those classifications. They were given passbooks that contained photos and fingerprints and things that would be demeaning to a normal person. You don't need that kind of stuff. They were also restricted from certain areas. In the civil rights movement, the blacks weren't allowed in certain restaurants, they weren't allowed to use certain water fountains. They weren't even allowed to sit in the front of the bus if a white person wanted their seat. So, in both movements, the blacks wanted freedom. They obviously didn't feel that it was right for them to be oppressed, persecuted like they were being. And in both, they were the ones. The whites were against them. It's just totally racist. There's also lots of differences. Okay. There's obvious differences like location and time, but there's also differences as far as the motives. In South Africa, the motives of the Apartheid Act were to segregate the two and negate them of all their political power. They moved them to homelands, and they also took them. So they were technically taken out of their countries. They didn't have rights to vote or any political say whatsoever.
In America and the civil rights movement, they
four of them are really important, but I'm just going to talk about one of them. Nelson Mandela. Nelson was born on July 18th, 1918, near Lusaka in Stransky. It's in the Eastern Cape. He obtained a degree in law at South Africa University. In 1944, Walter Cicero, Oliver Tambo, and Mandela formed a group called the ANC. Later on, he married Evelyn Toka and had 3 children. In 1955, Mandela was arrested, and then later on, he was acquitted for treason in 1961. For 18 months, Nelson used disguises to hide from the police before he was arrested in 1962. Then, a year later, in 1963, he was acquitted again for treason. And then 7 others, including himself, in 1964, they were arrested and sentenced to life in prison for sabotage and treason. Nelson ended up spending his next 27 years in a maximum security prison, and he wasn't released until 1990. And since then, he's been touring the world, speaking with world leaders about his events and trying to completely clear out all types of apartheid acts going on in South Africa.
Civil rights leader Martin Luther King, also Malcolm X, basically Martin Luther King, he just wanted everyone to see equal, and he thought that whites and blacks should live together and have the same rights. And Malcolm X thought exactly the opposite. He thought that since whites disrespected the blacks, that they should just completely have 2 different worlds, and that they shouldn't live together, that they should have their own communities. And in 1965, he got assassinated and taken down. Malcolm X he thought that he talks a lot about discrimination. He was another part of this person who started the
Okay. I'm Heidi Button. This is Son of Tim, Whitney, Woolsey, Jessica Bryant, and Brittany Strusu, who is sick today. And the other person who's supposed to be up to present with me, Sue Wood. We also have to go other information, but I'll do it as I can. So, okay. The first leader that we did with the civil rights movement was Martin Luther King, who was born in 1929, who was a Baptist minister. He was like one of the main leaders, the most like inspirational and the one that was well known for the civil rights movement. There were others like Malcolm X, but he was like the more like influential and like the one that was like more out there what we thought. So this is why we picked him. And he prompted non-violent means to achieve civil rights between the civil rights movement, because like there was violence, but he wanted to try to keep it peaceful. And because of his actions, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 because he said through him trying to achieve peace. And then in 1959, on his trip to India, he met with Gandhi's followers. And during the discussions, which like 3 days of discussions, he was more convinced that everyone would try to keep things non-violent and try to keep things peaceful. And it was full of inspiration with him to talk with these people. And his most memorable speech that like people know him for is "I Have a Dream," which I'm sure all of you have heard. Is "I Have a Dream" speech, which has touched a lot of people. Right, next slide. And then for the anti-apartheid movement, the leader that we picked to do was Nelson Mandela, and he was a South African political leader, and he was also president from 1994 to 1990. He was a lawyer, and he joined the African National Congress in 1994, and he co-founded was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993, but in 1962 he was accused of treason, and in 1964 was convicted of sabotage and was sentenced life imprisonment, then was later released in 1990. Right, next slide. The similarities between the two, the main one was that they just wanted equal rights between whites and blacks. That's the main thing, just equal rights where everybody was treated equal. And both leaders were given Nobel Peace Prizes, like I mentioned. Whitney became in 1963 and Nelson Mandela in 1993. And both of the leaders were often in prison who was released. So yeah, next slide. And the differences is, well, the civil rights movement was in the United States and the Kanoe movement was in South Africa. And Nelson Mandela was a lawyer, and Martin Luther King, he was a Baptist minister, which, you know, you have two different professions, but yet they still fought. It didn't matter. They were still fighting who they believed in, still had the same beliefs and things like that. And that's
I'm Jackie, and everybody knows me, but we've been on the civil rights movement and basically what happened our PowerPoint, like what it was, when and where it was. The main leaders. It was the anti-apartheid versus the civil rights movement, and and okay, she's not. The anti-apartheid, civil rights movement was in Alabama mostly, in the United States in 1954 to 1968, and the anti-apartheid was in South Africa from 1948 to 1994.
Nelson Mandela, he was the most known African leader in the anti-apartheid movement. And Nelson Mandela was a leader in the anti-apartheid movement. Nelson is still alive today. He speaks about his life and the importance of his religion in his life, a crucial role of reflection and the times of change during his 27 years in prison. Nelson requested, I would like to be remembered as a part of the team, and I would like my contribution to be an assist as somebody who carried out decisions taken by that collective. Nelson married in 1998 to his wife, Horacia, Michael, and his mother. Now living in a two-story house in Lowly, Johannesburg, neighborhood of Hometown, where he said this: as prisoners, we use as individual and public decisions to make friends with some of our jailers, but happening outside of organized and
deportation from South Africa homelands. He just wanted equal rights in South Africa, like every other black person.
Martin Luther King was another one of the most important civil rights leaders. He was assassinated in April of 1968, and he was shot by James Earl Ray while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. He was only 39 at the time of his death, and in 1967, he initiated a pro-people's campaign designed to confront economic problems that had not been addressed by earlier civil rights leaders. The following year, in 1968, he delivered his final message, which was, "I've been to the mountaintop." On August 28th, in 1963, he delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech, which more than 250,000 protesters gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And he went to jail and spent like 2 nights in there for what he believed in.
Rosa Parks was 42 years old when she was basically arrested for not giving up her seat to a white person. Basically what she did is she had gotten on the bus one day on her way home from work on December 1st, 1955, and she walked past the section that said whites on it where she was not allowed to sit through her little section, and she sat down. Well, the bus eventually filled up and there were no more seats in the white section, so when more white people came on the bus driver asked her to get up and move back along with the other people who got on the bus. Well, nobody at first listened to the bus driver, and he literally demanded to get up and move, and everybody got up except for Rosa. She just sat there. And the bus driver got up, walked back to her, and told her once again to move, and she basically simply said no, and just turned her head and looked out the window. Well, the bus driver was pretty upset, got off the bus, went and got the police officer, came back, and she was arrested. E.D. Nixon, I don't think it's the same person. I'm not sure if that is the same person. It's kind of sad stuff. He was also fighting for civil rights and civil rights movement as a leader. He basically found out about her being arrested and went and bailed her out of jail, and her and her lawyer went to court, and she was found guilty for the violations of segregation, violating segregation laws, and had a fine of $14. Back then, $14 was a lot. So her attorney basically said that the laws are unjust and that he was going to appeal. Took him about finally almost a year later, on November 13th, 1956, the Supreme Court saying that the laws were unjustified and that they were abolished. They were basically thrown away, thrown out. Bye-bye. And so the next day, exactly one day later, after the segregation laws were thrown out the window, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and E.D. Nixon got up and went on the bus and sat in the very front row of the bus. Because they wanted to. Oh, they also had a bus boycott. We don't really know a whole lot about Malcolm X. That was Brittany's job or person to work on, perhaps. So this is basically all we know. The fact that he was born May 19th, 1995 or 1925. When his teacher told him that this was his teacher's words, to be exact, sorry to offend anybody, that no nigger is allowed to be a lawyer. He basically lost all his interest in school, and selling drugs and whatnot. He married Betty Shabazz in 1958, had 4 kids, and was shot 15 times before strange on February 21st, 1960. These are our websites. What we got all the
Luther King. You guys remember the date that he died?
1968.
1968. April. What day?
April 6th.
No, April 4th, 1968.
Oh, Becca knows. She's good.
That's right. What are there? Did you listen to the news yesterday with regard to Martin Luther King's death? Okay. It's really it.
Beth knows.
Who's that? Tuan, what happened? Huh? Martin Luther King. What important news event about Martin Luther King came about yesterday? Okay. Okay. There's also if you listen.
Couldn't hear anything.
Okay, she basically talked. The news reported about Martin Luther King, about what he did and his work. There's also another important piece that was shared yesterday in the news as well, and that's regarding. Do you know what it is? What is it?
Some guy said, his father really killed Martin Luther.
Right.
He witnessed them killing him.
Yep. And that's to throw a whole nother issue out there with regard to his death. So keep listening to the news. You'll pick up quite a bit of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on. So
What's ironic is that this man that's come out and said, well, I can't keep quiet any longer, my conscience is eating at me. My father, and this is the interesting part, who was a minister, really shot Martin Luther King. So I'm sure there'll be more coming out on this. Pay attention.
Yep.
Is it true? Is it not true? What's going on with this?
Okay, so when we get back from spring break, the other two groups will present. Okay, those of you that had your group members missing today, and I know that some of them are out because of sickness. You guys did a really good job of filling in for what they had to present. Okay, so thank you very much for doing some additional type research on your own. All right, any questions? Okay, by the time you get back, okay, we'll do the 2 presentations. You will also get the study guide, and then we'll also probably Monday we'll probably take the remainder of the period after the presentations. We'll discuss the end of the book, and then we'll take a look at the film version with James Earl. I was going to say Ray, James Earl Jones, and Richard Harris. All right, and we'll take a look. It's probably about, I think it takes 2 class periods, all of 2 class periods. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that, and then I want you, what you're going to do is I want you to look at for those of you that have completed the book, you'll see how the book and the movie will pretty much blend together. It's probably one of the only movies that I know of that really takes the book and is true to what the book says.
So it's good watching the movies rather than the book.
Yeah, but it's not going to help you on the test.
How about books on tape?
There's no book on tape.
Yeah.
Mrs. Stewart and I have already looked.
March 1.
Trust me, I will. The internet will help me find one.
Does she? Ooh.
I'm willing to pay a large sum of money to.
Okay. Any other questions? So William, your group is free. Okay. There probably is one. Okay. Yes. Do you have for the groups that presented, you have your all your paperwork you have to turn in, so get it in today, and we'll get it taken care of. Oh, no, we're gonna do something else. What, you did them? How many of you did your sentences on your own?
You didn't miss an item. That was a joke. Haha.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's just somebody did.
Who did?
I'm not telling.
Who Beth did?
Okay, the last 7 minutes you're on your own. Why JR is probably saying that Johannesburg is a symbol of evil, or why JT said that it was a symbol of or represented death. And I think as we get through, you'll see why they're saying that as well. It is symbolizes basically the loss of personhood. When you go to a large city like that, you're not a big fish in a small pond. You're rather a small fish in a very large pond. Okay, and you lose something as you go to a large city. Yeah.
Well, it's been considered, however, why would someone do it?
What draws people? And again, you're correct. There's a lot more opportunity. Money draws them. There's a lot more opportunities in a larger city, and that's what's drawing him.
Oh, because he's a reverend. It's considered hell because there's so many material possessions, right?
In some ways, yes.
Oh.
But you'll see some of it.
I was just going to ask if you think that his wife would be worried about him going, because it says that if the really stays there.
I think there was some fear, but she's encouraging him to go because to go see his sister. That's right. And she's the one that's telling him to go use this St. Chad's money to actually go there and to find out what's going on with his sister, and also to go and see if his son actually is alive. Okay, so those are a couple of the things. Kumalo's afraid to travel to Johannesburg, and one of the reasons, or possible reasons why, is I don't think he was ever outside of Endoshani at all, and going into a big city kind of frightened him. So it was someplace brand new. It was someplace that was unfamiliar to him. So anyway, what happens to Kumalo when he arrives in Johannesburg? You didn't get that part? Okay. Sure.
He gets conned by his dad, that I guess can happen to him on the bus, and he has to go to a certain place.
After a long trip, he gets there and he gets conned. He gets conned by a young man who he thought was going to help him. And how much money did he lose? £1. He gets short. That's what he lost. And he trusted him. And then what did he do? You guys remember what he did? Anybody? No, he didn't sell cocaine.
Yeah,
He did.
he sold it to get it back. He moved to Colombia. I read that.
Anthony's rewriting certain sections of Pride of the Beloved Country.
Then he bought a lot of cars.
DT.
Is a pound like $1 here?
No, actually not. It's more like, if I remember correctly, that's about $4 or $5 at that time, back in 1946.
It's still worth it.
I think it is still worth more
It's
than
worth
that money.
about $2,500.
So back then it was like about $4 or $5. So anyway, what Kamala does is he actually gets out of the line that the young man told him to stand in, and goes out and tries to look for the guy, and finds out that he's been robbed. He's been conned out of a pound. And so anyway, there was an older gentleman that helped him to find his way to Sophia Town to meet up with Reverend Nisamangu. And there he meets, yeah.
I thought that was the reference.
It was somebody else that found, that helped him and moved him, or escorted him to Sophia Town so that he could meet up with the Reverend Nisimambu. Okay? Now, what we've done today, we've gone through 4 chapters, and we've gone through pretty quickly. Alright? And most of you participated in answering questions, and you guys did a good job in firing back comments to one another, and I enjoyed that. We looked at the life of a little bit at Stephen Kamalo and his trip to Johannesburg. And so far, his trip to Johannesburg has not been very pleasant, has it? First time out and you get robbed. However, Kamalo does meet up with the person that he's supposed to meet. That is the Reverend Theophilus Nisimambu. Now, what I want you to do, we've probably about 20 minutes or so left in class. What I would like for you to do with the remaining time that we have is I want you to write out a paragraph. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to use chapter 1 as your model. Okay? So chapter 1, use it as your model, and I want you to rewrite in your own words chapter 1 as far as being paradise. And you see the change in chapter 1 from a place that was lush and green to a place that was now deteriorating, that has become dry, that has become desolate. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
Would that be good?
It could be.
Just to make this place seem like good and bad, and cities like that.
So if you can do that, 1 paragraph minimum. And while you are doing that, I will get your test back to you. Using chapter 1 as your model. So you go from some place to someplace why and don't. Someplace that is deteriorating. That's okay. So just use this as a model. But I want you to go ahead and
I love using. I wave around. It's pretty. It's so nice. Sure, you don't want some?
Okay.
any place like your own paradise. Did you go from lush and green? Or how did you say deterioration?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the bar just because it was my balance.
No, I just read something that. Trying to put out, write out an outline right now. That'll help you. Hey, Lynn, listen. Oh, she's been chatty.
No fear, Lynn's here.
Oh,
Well, now, I've got that over with.
How was your weekend? Good?
So busy, you deserve the whole period to do nothing.
No, I don't.
I wasn't asleep. I was not looking.
And because I was here on time.
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
Alright?
Going over vocab words again. What? You sound like one of those- Yes, Dad. I got it back to you last week.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna pass out some, actually just some cards. What you'll see on there, it says sentence, you'll have the word, you'll see translate, and it'll have a sentence. Then you have a card that will say word, it'll give the definition, that is a verb, meaning to block, to hinder, and you have to come up with the word. All right? Can't use any notes. We're gonna see how well.
Oh, well,
What is
that's
a
not
test?
fair.
No, it's not a test. We're grading you. Let's see how much you guys can remember over the weekend. All right? Ready?
No. Yeah.
I'm gonna pass the cards. There's
Are we ever gonna change these?
what's that?
Are we ever gonna change these?
Oh, we will.
Are you guys gonna change them?
Just wait until
Just
you
take
get
one
up,
and
okay?
pass it on.
Just take the
Just
cards
take
and
one.
pass them back.
Are you guys gonna change them or change these to next week?
She's just
Yeah,
choosing.
this second list of words. Jessica's missing.
Excuse me.
I got it. I'm so smart.
Okay, just hold on to your cards. Everybody have a card?
Right.
Wait for Mr. Kane to sit down.
Dude, this thing is horrible.
Why don't you use the electronic one over here?
Aw, that sucks. How long have we had that?
It's been around for all semester and last semester. And I know this is a new classroom.
I think I should have pointed
The
it out.
electronic one over there.
Water my nose.
Okay, ready?
No,
Yes.
no, I'm not ready.
Oh, she's probably got it. She has to be.
Give me the.
So she'll be. Probably. Yeah. So, by the way, my wife is over here. She's videotaping again.
Hi.
You guys did such a great job the other day.
Oh, I got this one. Oh, I got it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want you to do. Okay, when you translate these words, the sentences, go ahead and you can go and insert another word besides. You understand?
Can we write on these things?
Can you write on those?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and write on those if it'll help you.
Alright, I'll write it.
Okay?
I don't get what we're doing.
Okay, I'm going to read what I'll do is I'll read the definition. Those of you, the one that has the definition, you tell me what the word is. Okay?
Oh, okay, got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
And then if you have the translation of that word, if that word is used, I want you to give me your translation of the sentence.
Oh, okay, this one.
Okay? And if you have the word, you have the word sentence, and you have that particular word on your card, you have to give me a sentence. All right? Got it? Or do I have to explain it again?
No.
Got it? Okay. First one. Actually, I have one of the.
Here.
What's that?
You there?
No, you're going to read out loud. Okay? First one, not noticeable or barely noticeable. What is it?
No, my answer's
What's that? It's from our vocab list. You don't remember it. Do you need help?
Yeah.
Okay, grab out your list.
What was the word?
She's going. She's coming up with the word. Not noticeable. Imperceptible. Okay, who has translation? Okay. Yep. Yes. It's not.
The small town was imperceptible to the eye at 10,000 feet. And the translation of the small was microscopic to the eye at 10,000 feet.
Okay, well, that'll work for me. And who has the words with the word sentence on it? That says imperceptible. Okay, William, give me a sentence. Make up a sentence with imperceptible. It means not noticeable or barely noticeable. Mrs. Stewart is imperceptible. Okay, I can buy that. All right, next one. How about skillful in a quick and sure way? Deft. Okay, who's got the? Okay, translate.
Do I read my sentence?
Yeah. Read your sentence.
It says Michael Jordan floats through the air with definition and Michael Jordan floats through the air with great skill.
Okay, good. Okay. Who wants to try the sentence?
I'll do it.
Okay, use the word definite.
In a sentence,
Deft or definite? Yeah.
the wrestler was very deft in his match against Spitaler.
Okay, I can buy that.
And that was me.
I won't ask the obvious question then. All right, tightly stretched or tense? Hot. Okay.
I got translate.
Okay, what's the translation of it?
His muscles were very taut after the shoulder injury. His muscles were very tight and stretched after the sleep.
Tight and stretched?
Yeah.
No.
Alright.
Tightly
Tight.
stretched.
Tight and stretched.
Tightly stretched.
Tightly stretched.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you just say it they were tight?
Okay. Who has for the sentence? Seven.
Tightly. That's an oxymoron if I were to do it.
Tightly stretched.
Tightly stretched. Sorry.
Need some help? No, that would work. The taffy was taut. Does that work? Yes? No?
Maybe so.
Maybe so? Okay, it works. How many of you guys know what an oxymoron is? Okay, tell me what an oxymoron is.
Like two opposites.
Like short, tall. That's an oxymoron.
Okay,
He's
how about
tall for a short person.
tall? He's a tall, short
He's
person.
tall for a short
person.
person.
Okay, he's tall for a short person.
An oxymoron is usually redundancy. And then like opposite is like passive or military intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's usually, how would you describe it? Would be two
pretty blonde for a
contradictory,
brunette.
two contradictory terms used together. Like, read this up. Fresh frozen food.
That is an oxymoron.
That is an oxymoron because can you
She's
have
pretty
fresh?
blonde for a brunette.
If it's fresh, it can't be frozen.
Yes, it can.
No, it can't. Fresh frozen
can't
food.
have
You
That's
don't
an
pick you don't
oxymoron.
pick a berry, you don't put it in
Right.
ice.
What's that?
Dry ice. Come on.
It's like saying wet frozen ice.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Dry
Ice is ice.
ice.
I like to
It's wet.
disagree. I can
No, never mind.
fresh food.
Okay.
I said in my vocabulary.
All right. Next one.
Then it would be. If I froze it.
You're an oxymoron.
I think I just said that.
Okay. I'll just back up here. An impulse that is hard to resist.
Compulsion. I have a sentence for this.
I have a word.
Do you have the word? Wait. Yeah. Do you have the definition?
Compulsion.
Okay. so who has the translation? Okay.
My sister has a compulsion to write anywhere at any time in any place. My sister has a impulse to write anywhere at any time.
Okay. JR, you have a sentence?
Okay. At his weekly session, Timothy said to his class psychiatrist that compulsions are coming back. Day in and day out, the roulette tables called.
Okay.
That was a paragraph, wasn't it?
Oh, that was a sentence. It's a rather long sentence. Okay, next word. Definition is to prove, to be true, to confirm. Yeah.
Verify.
To verify. All right. Who's got the translation?
Me.
Okay. What is it?
The officer took my license and verified that I was another police officer. Like, proved that.
Give me the.
Officer took my license and proved that I was another police officer.
Okay. And then who has the sentence?
All that is that he didn't verify who he was.
Okay, that works. All right. How about seeming to be endless? What is it? Yeah. What's the word? Interminable. Okay. Who has the translation for it? You have the translation for it? Okay. Okay. And then who has the sentence? Jackie. Okay. Candy was interminable. All right.
Like the Grand Canyon.
Next definition.
It says Canada.
Not understandable. Who's got that one?
Is that what we have here?
No, it's definite, so we've already done that.
I know
Oh,
what
you
it
got,
is.
how did you get two? Oh, she
Well, 'cause
had it.
there's four.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why you get two.
what is it? You know? Okay, who's got, do you have a translation? Right.
Hey, you guys be quiet, she's trying to talk.
Not understandable.
My God, will you shut up over there? Thank you.
Did you call her Lynn?
I called you one.
Well, you were looking at me and said
I
that.
think I called you. All right, two. No, it's not time to talk about the pencil. To block or to hinder? To impede, okay. Who's got the, right? Yep.
Disputing men try to make the parents disputing men try to rob the parents.
Okay, and then the sentence for the right? Yeah, give me a sentence. Okay, that'll work. All right, to make up on the spur of the moment. What is it? Okay, and who has the translation?
Jesse implied the last couple of lines in the speech. Jesse made up the last couple of lines.
Okay, and then who has the sentence?
It is just like the as the doctor implies using format.
Okay, that'll work. Let's see, I think that's mine, just got one more. Twisted and intricate. Convoluted. Okay, and who has the translation on it? Okay. Okay, and then, last one, the sentence, who's got that one?
His excuse was so convoluted it was obvious it was a lie.
Repeat that again?
His excuse
yours now?
C.
C. Okay. All right. So this Wednesday when we take our exam, our little quiz, 25 out of 25, right? That one being.
If I get candy, I will.
If you get candy. You guys are on this candy thing.
It's a reward.
It's a reward? Okay, well, you know, tell you what, if the class, if the whole class gets 25 out of 25, I think that's every one of you now. There's what, 33? I think there's 33 of you. All 33 of you get 25 out of 25. I'll bring you some candy.
Dude, we got that on tape too, so.
Yes, we do have that. You have that on tape, so.
Hey, I'm going for a hat trick.
All right. Go ahead and pass those cards up front and I'll collect them. And then grab your book also. All right.
Norman, are you going for a hat trick?
Where are we going?
You know what that is? Green row.
The assignment for over the weekend was to read up to chapter 15, and I don't think all of you have gotten to chapter 15 yet. So don't worry about it. Just continue, pick up reading wherever the new chapters are assigned. Okay, just continue reading up to that. A couple of things before we get going. Okay. You guys know where the setting is at of the book, right? From South Africa, right down through there. Johannesburg, right up in there. And that's where the story is taking place, right up in that area. All right, and the rest of the story with the villages and stuff like that leads us to the north. In this area as well. Okay, so in relation to what's going on, that's where it's at. Another thing that I was going to tell you guys on Friday about this as well is Art in Africa down at the Seattle Art Museum. If you're interested, head down there. It's on until May 19th. Down at the Seattle Art Museum. What's that?
You get extra credit?
Hey, if you guys go down and write up a report for me, if you do, yeah, just write up what you saw, some of these displays, all right? And if you do go, just let me know, and that's the way I'll know, all right?
Why not?
Does that make sense?
Where is this at and when is it again?
Oh yeah, bring your ticket in, and I want you to write something about the art pieces that you saw.
When and where is it?
This is at the Seattle Art Museum down in Seattle, and it's started the 7th of February and runs until the 19th of May. Pardon me? Anytime before I leave, which I will, my last, because I finish my classes at the end of April. So if you come in and you do it before the end of April and you show that you've done it, I will give you extra credit on it. All right? It's something, I don't know how many of you are into art at all. I love art. And especially art from different cultures, just to be down there and looking at them. I go to the Asian Art Museum that's downtown. I love Asian art, and I do love, well, there's some really strange art pieces that I like, but I do enjoy the Asian art pieces. I also like African art. I've seen some when I was living down in Los Angeles. So, if you have an opportunity, it's close. Go down there and take a look at them.
Where is it in Seattle?
It's right downtown Seattle.
Second Avenue,
Yeah.
Second,
Yeah.
almost down as far as Union.
Yeah, if I had time, that'd be a wonderful field trip to do.
Let's go.
Well, we can't.
Well, I know, but like, secret.
But it would be a wonderful, something really good, great experience.
Well, what if it's like on the weekend, like everybody happens to show up at the same place? On accident.
The Seattle Art Museum.
Dude, I'm going.
Well, I don't think we can do that as a class activity field trip.
My daughter.
Regular school. Well, we certification and all that stuff.
People in the business law classes are.
We got it.
Yeah, these usually field trips are taken like a lot sooner than what we have to plan.
Well, if they go to the business.
Okay, so get it, if you have a chance, go on down there and take a look at the art pieces. And again, I will give you some credit. Go ahead and do it and bring back your ticket stub, because they will give you a ticket. And then write up the piece on it. Okay?
How much time can you
Yeah, this isn't like, haha, I give you 1 point.
No, hey, it's really more than 1 point. Okay? Alright? And just make it, just let me know what you guys did. Yeah, that'll work. That sound okay, Ken?
Times 5.
How much is an assignment worth?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me. 10 times 5.
Well, how about it depends on how many things we write down about? No. Each time we write down something, it's
No.
we have 5 things that we're.
No, we'll just do it. It'll be some extra credit for you, okay? And I'm not a big fan of extra credit, but this, if you take the time to drive all the way down to Seattle, about 20 miles, 25 miles down south, to actually do that, and that's.
Yeah, I think it should be worth as many miles as we drive.
Yeah.
No, can't do that. You can't do that. Okay, now, I got a question for you. How many of you have read up to chapter 15?
Come on, you guys.
You said we had to be on chapter 12.
Brittany has. Brittany's ahead, and a couple of you guys have already read the book. So, how about up to chapter 14?
Jeez.
12? Okay.
All right, 11.
You can catch up. You guys can catch up. All right. Chapter 12. Before I forget also, some other stuff. Tomorrow, we will meet here, we'll do roll, and then we're going down to the check back, a couple of doors down. Yes?
What are we going to be researching?
I'll have everything for you tomorrow.
Well,
We're actually gonna be doing, you're doing research on the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa and the civil rights movement here in America. You're gonna look at the similarities and the differences between the two movements. And then you'll also look at the two leaders, the prominent leaders of both movements. You'll also look at the similarities and differences between those two. And then you will have to present that.
Like write a paper, like American contract paper?
No, actually not. You are going to do that orally as a group.
You can pick our group.
Yeah, no, I will pick your groups for you. Okay? Yeah. Okay. But that's how we'll do it. So in your group, you will have some that will have done some extensive research, some will just do the bare minimum. But I want you to go ahead and work together as a team to put it together, and you will do your presentation as a group with one spokesman. Okay, so not all of you will have to speak.
I'm called speaker.
Okay? So we'll do that tomorrow, and we'll work on the research over the next week and a half or so. All right, so you can get some background in doing research online, and all of your research will be done online. This will help you not to go and bog yourself down in the library reading through a ton of books. Okay, it'll narrow. I wish we had this one. I was going through the first time through college because the way I did my research was 3x5 cards and read through volumes and volumes and volumes. This just type what you want, and you can narrow your search down and narrow it down. Pardon me? Yeah, you do have to read a little bit, but it's not as much as what.
No, I mean you. There's so many books.
Yeah, lots of them. Okay, let's go to, I think Friday when we finished off at chapter 11, where Stephen Kumalo finally gets news that a murder has taken place in Parkwold, and that the gentleman that was killed was Arthur Jarvis. And I think when we left off with a question about Kumalo saying that this thing here in my heart, there is nothing but fear. Fear, fear, fear. And that's where we left off. And a couple of you answered that part one was the fear of that was Kumalo may have thought it was his son, or was thinking that it was his son. And then some of you thought that the fear was actually more of a breakdown in the family and all as well. Go to chapter 12. Listen how chapter 12 begins. It says, "Have no doubt it is fear in the land," picking up on that same theme that it ended with in chapter 11. "For what can men do when so many have grown lawless? Who can enjoy the lovely land? Who can enjoy the 70 years in the sun that pours down on the earth when there is fear in the heart? Who can walk quietly in the shadow of the jacarandas when their beauty is grown to danger? Who can lie peacefully abed while the darkness holds some secret? What lovers can lie sweetly under the stars when menace grows with the measure of their seclusion? There are voices crying, what must be done? 100, 1,000 voices, but what do they help if one seeks for counsel? For one cries this, and one cries that, and another cries something that is neither this nor that." That's how it opens, chapter 12. What's he talking about? Revolution?
Well, it's like when he's talking about people who are trying either this or that or this or that, I think it's when you remember that guy who got selected so long. It's like those people who are trying to bring that like people are crying.
Okay. Listen a little bit further, because I think you're on the right track too, on what he says. It's on page 78. Okay, second paragraph. It says, "And some cry for the cutting up of South Africa without delay into separate areas, where white can live without black, and black without white, where black can farm their own land and mine their own minerals, and administer their own laws. And others cry away with the compound system that brings men to the towns without their wives and children, and breaks up the tribe and the house and the man, and they ask for the establishment of villages for the laborers in mines and industries." And the church cried too. The English-speaking churches cried for more education and more opportunity, and for removal of the restrictions of native labor and enterprise. And the Afrikaans-speaking churches want to see the native people given opportunity to develop along their own lines, and remind their people that the decay of family religion, where the servants took part in family devotions, has contributed to the moral, in part, to the moral decay of the native people. But there is no equality in church or stay. Listen to this next paragraph. He says, yes, there are 1,000 voices crying, but what does one do when one cries this thing and one cries another? Who knows how we shall fashion a land of peace where black outnumber white so greatly? Some say that the earth has bounty enough for all, and that more of one does not mean less of another, and the advance of one does not mean the decline of another. They say that poor paid labor means a poor nation, and that better paid labor means greater markets and greater scope for industry and manufacture. And others say that this is a danger. For better paid labor will not only buy more, but will also read more, think more, ask more, and you will not be content to be forever voiceless and inferior. Who knows how we shall fashion such a land? For we fear not only the loss of our possessions, but the loss of our superiority and the loss of our whiteness. Some say it is true that crime is bad, but would this not be worse? It is not better to hold what we have and to pay the price of it with fear. And others say that such a fear be endured. For it is not this fear that drives men to ponder all these things. What is Peyton writing about? What's he saying? What's he saying through these two paragraphs, or actually 4 paragraphs? 2 different sections. What's the cry of his heart? Will.
That's what I was going to say, that they need to probably to get right stuff for themselves and their country.
Okay, they better start for themselves and for their country.
Yeah.
What else? What about this first line? And some cry for the cutting up of South Africa without delay into separate areas. Where white can live without black, and black without white. Where black can farm their own land and mine their own minerals and administer their own laws. What's all this leading up to? To apartheid? See, that policy, although it wasn't official until 1948, part of that was going on prior to that time. And Alan Payton, the writer, understood that and saw that. I can't remember if I told you that this particular book was not well received in South Africa when it was first published. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, it was banned in South Africa. Just because of what he was saying throughout the book with regard to equality in South Africa. Now, since you're going to be doing a paper or a presentation on the civil rights movement, do you guys know anything about the civil rights movement of the 1960s? A little bit? Nothing? Okay, who was the leader of the civil rights movement? Who, the person that is most prominent, that's most out there? No, this is civil rights, not apartheid. Apartheid, it was Nelson Mandela, right? And the civil rights movement of the 1960s, yep, Dr. Martin Luther King, that's the one who was out there. He was pretty much the spokesman of the civil rights movement here in the United States. Okay? Nelson Mandela was the leader of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. Do you guys know when he was jailed?
When?
He served a lot of time in when he was first thrown into jail because of his political views. Yeah.
Why? When?
What year? Yeah. No, I don't think it was in the 40s. No. It was back in, I think, this is off the top of my head, so I think it was in 1964 when they threw him in prison, and they didn't release him until, I believe it was 1988 or 89. One of those 2 years was when they released him finally from prison. Okay? There are a lot of similarities between the anti-apartheid movement and the civil rights movement of the 1960s. And as you go through it, you'll see this. You'll see, and our civil rights movement goes even back further than the 60s. If you go back into the 1860s, what did our country fight over? Over slavery. What was slavery?
It was like, the Yanks were fighting to free all the slaves.
Who was the big spokesman during that era?
Mandela went to prison in 62 and wasn't released until 1990.
1990. So I was 2 years off on one side and 2 years off on the other. That's pretty close. Who wanted to free the slaves? Huh? Who wanted to free the slaves in the South? Well, there were some things that were going on during those years that they wanted to move the slaves out. Now, let me ask you this: were the blacks treated equally back in the 1860s in the North and the South? Those in the North were kind of probably treated a little bit better than those in the South, right? Just a little, not much, but they were treated a little bit better in the North than they were in the South. As you continue reading this book, you will see references made back to a lot of speeches that Abraham Lincoln made with regard to the freeing of slaves. And as you read the book, Alan Payton likens that slavery to those men that are working in the mines. Although they were getting paid for it, they were pretty much treated as slaves. When the economy went up, did the pay of those working the mines go up?
No.
I think no, they didn't. They remained down below. That's one of the cries that Payton, when he says that you think that with better when we get more, we ought to pay more for our labor, for those that are working the mines and things like that. So anyway, okay. Now, page 80. It says, "Cry the beloved country," and that's where they get the title of the book. "Cry the beloved country, for the unborn child that is the inheritor of our fear." Ooh, what's he mean? Cry the beloved country, for the unborn child that is the inheritor of our fear. Yeah, what does he mean by that? Cry the beloved country, for the unborn child that is the inheritor of our fear. what does it mean? It's what I see it as it's the cry of not only the author, Alan Page, but the cry of Kumalo's heart. Okay? For the unborn child that is the inheritor of our fear, for those that will be coming. The inheritor of our fear. Yeah.
And then does the fear that they have now, that unborn children, when they're born, they'll inherit the fear.
They will inherit those things that are present. Those things that the blacks fear during that time. Those things that the whites fear during that time. We're going to be inherited by those unborn to this day. So, yeah. Cry the beloved country for the unborn that is the inheritor of our fear. Let him not love the earth too deeply. Let him not laugh too gladly when the water runs through his fingers, nor stand too silent when the setting sun makes red the velvet fire. Let him not be too moved when the birds of his land are singing, nor give too much of his heart to a mountain or a valley. For fear will rob him of all if he gives to much. The fear will rob him of all if he gives too much. Yeah.
So, the fact that they're too wrapped up in their possessions, I'll just think too their
It could be. And in some ways, yes.
how if they love something they might misuse it ways.
Yes, very much so. So remember again, I point back to the beginning of the book, in chapter 1. You see the change that takes place in Peyton's intro to the book. It shows something that was lush, that was green, that was filled with a lot of stuff. And then, at the end of the chapter, there is that where are the young men? Where are young women? The maize that is growing is no higher than man, or something to that effect. But those types of things that he's talking about, don't get too attached. You need to take care of what you have. Don't get too far attached. Then as we go on in chapter 12, you'll see that that the police are finding out. They found out who these men are, the natives that have committed the crime, and they go on their search for the men. Okay, and right behind them are Samago, Kumalo, and I believe the young white man from the reformatory that goes along with them, and finds some things. Okay. Chapter 13. And this is where actually Kumalo and Samago go to another village, and they go ahead and quickly he talks. Samago is giving a message at a church, and so we'll skip over pretty much that. Take a look at the very beginning part of chapter 13. If you haven't read chapter 13, go ahead and read part of that, because some of the stuff that we've been talking about with regard to the land and things like that come up. Page 87, the last full paragraph. says when broke in a man, what broke in a man when he could bring himself to kill another? What broke in a man when he could bring himself to thrust down the knife into the warm flesh, to bring down the axe on the willing head, to cleave down between his eyes, to shoot a gun that would drive death into the beating heart. Also, the next page, 88. You look at, and there's a change that takes place in Kumali with regard to what he's discovered in Johannesburg and to education and things like that. So continue on reading there. I'm going to stop there. Okay? You haven't gotten up to chapter 14, 15. Go ahead and try and get at least 14 and 15 read. And you'll see, I want you to get through chapter 15. Okay? And then tomorrow, again, what we'll do is we'll meet here, we'll take roll, and then we will go down to the tech lab. You will need to have your student ID number, and let's see what else. Student ID number for
Yeah,
sure.
do it. And if you already have an account on the server, great. If not, you will get one.
Okay? Okay, and I'll have some more with regard to the assignment tomorrow. I want you to do your research first, because you guys won't know. Until you do your research, because everybody will have to do it. Okay? Right? Any questions? No questions? Okay. It's your time to socialize.